Ladies and gentlemen, from the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace and Justice, Deacon Gerald Celente.
Hello, everybody. This is Deacon Gerald Celente of the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, and Justice. 3 words of any God you believe in, but hardly mentioned anymore. Peace has become a dirty word. If you live in America or you live in Europe, none of the mainstream media has peace advocates on. They only have warmongers on. Look at Congress, a disgrace. In God we trust on all the American paper currencies. What God are they talking about? Their God is a God of hell. They were trying to pass through another bill of almost $100 billion to keep bloodying the killing fields of Ukraine and the Israeli slaughter of innocent Palestinians. There's this woman by the name of Francesca Albanese. She's a UN Special Rapporteur of the occupied Palestinian territories. Last week, French President Emmanuel Macron said that October 7th Hamas attack was, quote, the largest anti-Semitic massacre of the 21st century. And she responded by saying, quote, the largest anti-Semitic massacre of our century? No, Mr. Macron. The victims of October 7th were not killed because of their Judaism, but in response to Israel's oppression. France and the international community did nothing to prevent it. My respects to the victims of Hamas, Albanese said in her post. She was responding again to a comment made by Macron. And they had a special ceremony in Paris because of the slaughter by Hamas of some 1,200 Israelis. And as Max Blumenthal has detailed, as has Norman Finkelstein, many of those deaths were caused by the Israeli military. And there's the pictures of the tank shooting at the kibbutz where Hamas had taken some prisoners and blowing it up. And others of Israeli helicopters shooting down at people, killing people indiscriminately, as Hamas was among them. Albanese said she condemned the attacks and was disappointed that some had interpreted her comments as justifying Hamas's actions. Quote, disappointed that some read my tweet as justifying the Hamas crimes of October 7th, which I've strongly condemned several times, as we have at the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, and Justice. I reject all racism, as we do, including anti-Semitism, as we do. But explaining these crimes as anti-Semitism obscures their true causes. That's exactly the truth. They use this line of being anti-Semitic when you condemn the outright genocide of Israel committing against the Palestinians. Imagine if the people of Gaza were Jewish and the Palestinians were bombing them into obliteration because, let's say, the IDF in Gaza killed 1,112 Israelis. Palestinians. And the Palestinians are responding. Oh, there would be such outrage. This is the worst and largest anti-Semitic massacre, 1,112 people. The numbers are now out. Over 30,000 Palestinians have been killed, primarily women and children. When you put the numbers of seriously wounded and missing, it's over 100,000 people. So 100,000 Palestinians, oh, that's not a war crime. But, oh my God, we'll have a ceremony for the 1,112 Israelis killed by Hamas. And a little boy that they just brought in as a prime minister, a little boy of nothing, who brags that he's gay. Do people brag if they're straight? Why do you have to brag who you are and it becomes a big deal? But they brag. I could care less what you are. But that's how they sell it. So you're not allowed to say anything. When they make an ignorant comment like he just did, this little French foreign ministry, the new prime minister said that they repeated that. Let's cut this part out. Let's cut that out. All right. So moving on. Israel bombardment destroys more than 70% of civilian infrastructure in Gaza, according to the United Nations. They shared what was said shocking footage that showed unimaginable destruction. It said that 84% of the health facilities have been affected by attacks. The Israel war on Gaza has pushed 85% of the territory's population into internal displacement amid acute shortages of food, clean water, and medicine, while 60% of the enclave's infrastructure have been damaged or destroyed. And they're saying this all under the line, we're doing this to get Hamas. And we're going to keep doing it until we get Hamas. How do you know if a person is a member of Hamas or not? They're not wearing Hamas uniforms. This is to destroy Gaza like they've stolen the land under the name of settlements, which is in violation of the Geneva Convention, in violation of Article 242 of the United Nations. They're stealing more land and killing more people. And they do this under the baloney, the disrespect from every other religion that's saying God gave us this land, because they keep saying they're the chosen people. You're nothing if you believe in your God, whether you're a Christian, whether you're a Muslim, whether you're whatever religion you be living, your religion doesn't count. They are the chosen people. This is supremacy that is not acceptable to anyone, anywhere. It's like this guy that was the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner, Barack Obama, who slaughtered people in Syria and Afghanistan, overthrew Gaddafi in Libya, called America the exceptionals. Exception? What exceptional? Israeli forces destroy part of Gaza's largest big hospital in hostage push. The raid came a day after Israeli ordered thousands of people sheltering in the Nasser hospital, the last big medical facility in the besieged enclave, to leave. Yep. Israel forces said they had, quote, credible intelligence. Credible intelligence Could you imagine if this was an Israeli hospital? And all the Israeli hospitals were being bombed to obliteration? Oh, that would be so terrible. Oh, then Macron, you could call that the biggest, Holocaust. This is very important. Prominent black church leaders call for end of U.S. aid to Israel. This is a New York Times story. They called it, saying the mountain military campaign in Gaza amounts to, quote, mass genocide. That's right, mass genocide. Black churches and other faith groups have pushed for a ceasefire. They've amplified their calls as the number of dead rises. The AME Council's statement goes further than the ceasefire demand, insisting that the United States immediately stop its financial and military support of Israel. Amen, brother, or brothers and sisters. This should be a front page story, but it isn't. They continue after its torture. They plan to murder them, meaning what they're doing, denying them access in food, water, and shelter and healthcare in Gaza. They go on, AME says, after this torture, they plan to murder them. The United States of America will have likely paid for the weapons they use. This must not be allowed to happen. And there's another article in the New York Times, Washington lobby fights peacefully for ceasefire. You ready for this language? When the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, the most influential pro-Israel group in the United States, wants to use its muscle, it can call on its considerable resources to run negative ads against lawmakers who oppose its agenda and pour money into funding a challenger. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Israel funded, or America funded for Israel to go after any politician that doesn't support the Israeli agenda of mass genocide and stealing more land. That's America, the land of the free, the home of the brave. Gone. Gone. This is a disgrace. This should not be allowed to happen. No country anywhere should be telling Americans what to do. And then they have another article here to show you how small and insignificant the others are. Going up against the many forces, including Israeli, the challenge for any group, but the clash is especially striking, blah, 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 blah. They come on to say that the Friends Committee, this is another group which was founded during World War II, is part of what amounts to Washington's peace lobby. It does not run a political action committee. It reports about $3 million in annual revenue, which adds up to basically nothing. These are the Quakers. The AIPAC reported more than $73 million in resources. Last month, its Political Action Committee, which supports candidates who embrace its policy, reported record fundraising, bolstering a $40 million war chest that could be spent trying to defeat political opponents. In Washington, it has the ear of congressional leaders in both parties. It has the ear. Isn't that nice? They own them. U.S. is preparing to send bombs and other arms to Israel. This is the Wall Street Journal. Yep. So they say we have to do something to protect the Palestinians. Oh, and that little Antony Blinken who went to Israel and when it first happened with Hamas and said, I'm the Secretary of State and I'm a Jew. How about you're an American? This is a religious war. It's Crusades 2000 that we warned about in the Trends Journal back in 2006. Where is the outrage of America supplying the weapons to slaughter these people and the baloney coming from the media that, Biden's angry with Netanyahu? Oh, and Blinken says we have to do something to help the people as they keep sending more weapons of death. And moving on, Hezbollah warns that Israel will pay in blood for killing civilians. Hezbollah's leader, Nasrallah, has said that Israel will pay a price in blood for killing Lebanese citizens. In a televised speech on Friday, he said the response to the massacre should be continuing resistance work at the front and escalating resistance work at the front. Our women, our children who were killed in these days, the enemy will pay the price of spilling their blood. World War III is ramping up, and Israel's going to do everything they can to keep it going. And on Saturday, by Netanyahu, Bibi the Butcher said they're going to launch that attack into Rafah to get those Hamas. Again, they destroyed 70% of the buildings in Gaza belong to Hamas. People's homes. Imagine your home being blown to nothing. To nothing. Schools, mosques, churches, hospitals, destroyed. All under the name, we're doing this to get Hamas. This is mass murder, genocide in front of everybody's eyes. Where is the outrage? Some churches are now coming out. And amen and amen for doing it. But it has to be much bigger. And talk about what they said over there in Lebanon. Israel was behind Iran attacks. That's right. That's from the New York Times. Right here. They blew up a couple of pipelines, gas pipelines, major ones. They're blaming it on Israel. And then the Ukraine war is heating up. Zelensky hails Ukraine defense deals with Berlin and Paris. Financial Times. Zelensky signed a bilateral accord with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. Heil Hitler, Olaf, in Berlin, which Scholz described as an historic step. Under the agreement, Germany will provide military aid worth almost $7.5 billion in 2024 as Germany is in a recession. As the people in the United States are living paycheck to paycheck, 63% of them, another $100 billion going to more wars. You have a recession going on over there in the UK, and that little boy, Sunak. Yep. Another 2.5 billion pounds in military aid to keep slaughtering innocent people. On and on and on and on. The wars keep raging. And a good friend of mine said, boy, I bet if Taylor Swift came out for peace, we'd swiftly have peace. Because all the people that follow her would say, if Taylor Swift wants peace, then we'd have peace. But if we, the people, want peace, we're just pieces of crap, plantation workers of Slavelandia. Please do what you can to support the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, and Justice. We need money to do it. Can't do it without it. And we have pennies to work with. We need millions of dollars. And if millions of people contributed just a couple of dollars, we'd be out there fighting for peace, because I, Gerald Salenti, the deacon of the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, and Justice, I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. And any religion, any government, any people, regardless of what you believe in, but if you believe in peace, we're all on the same page. Peace on earth, goodwill to all. Thank you, amen, and amen.